Welcome, everybody, to another fabulous episode of Manhood Academy Interviews. Today, we're interviewing Mercedes Carrera.
Hi, Professor. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Did I pronounce that correctly? Was that the Spanish pronunciation of your name?
Sí, papi.
Sí, oh, I love it when you call me Poppy. Do that again.
Sí, papacito.
Oh, no, give me the porn part. Like, if I was behind you and grabbing your hips, doggy style, let me hear what it'd be like. Sí, Poppy.
Papi.
Oh my God, you even have the acting down. Stop. Let's keep this rated G, okay? Oh, all right. So, Mercedes, listen, I never write down questions for interviews. I'm fine just talking to people, and I will let my interest dictate where the interview goes. But with you, I actually had some focused things I wanted to talk about because you recently put out an interview that I saw on YouTube, and you had a very traumatic event that you were speaking about. That you let me hear you talk about it just briefly. Cover what you covered in the video, but just give us a synopsis what you're talking about and why you were talking about it.
Yeah, so a colleague of mine, Cytherea, who's a porn actress, she's kind of a prolific porn actress.
The main thing I forgot to do? I was going to do some research on your work, and I didn't even get a chance. I was going to watch a video and, for science and figure out what was going on, because I have no idea. I have no idea, number one, what kind of porn you even do. And, what you're like, if I'll get turned on or not. Because there's certain porn, like every guy has his thing. There's certain porn I'm like, oh, that's yummy. And then other porn I'm like, okay, there's two girls there, nice. Or there's a girl getting fucked, and you're like, So, I think definitely the more you watch porn, not that I'm not really even a porn fan. I don't know, like, super duper porn stars. I've never seen the AVN or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's certain things I like, just sexuality-wise, but as far as, like, following porn and all that, and not, like, I didn't even know you're a porn star. Your name didn't even ring a bell for me. So, I wanted to research and see some of your work, and I didn't even do that. We just started the interview right now. So, I'm like, I know, I'm so unprepared. I actually you know what I did? Because I just finished class, and I was writing up some questions, and I forgot, I hadn't even confirmed the interview yet. So that's when I sent you a text message just now to confirm. And in the background, I just put your name in the search engine. So, here's what I got so far, all right? I went to the screen. Let me show you what screen I'm at right now. Okay, let me go to my screen that I was on. It's in my, let me see, EDSCARERRA, correct? It auto-corrected. I love how it auto-corrects for your name. It knows, like, okay, somebody is searching for porn. Somebody is searching for a porn star. Okay, so here's what I came to first. Let me share a screen with what I just came to first. So I put in your name in the search engine, and at first I thought you were this girl, and I remember, no, that can't be you. It has to be this girl.
Yeah.
And then, because I was putting two together, this is the video I remember seeing. So, thus far, I just knew you're a porn star, and so you claim. And then I was like, okay, there's got to be porn shots. So I'm like, what is this girl like? And then I looked, and I saw this. Then I went to this one. You're like in a business suit. You're kind of like, oh, this looks like casting couch almost. And then I was almost to videos. This was the next click, but I didn't even make it there. I was like, I hadn't even figured out what you do, what type of porn you do. We'll get all into that first, but I want to cover your serious issue first. Oh, and by the way, we'll get to the porn after.
Okay.
But I definitely want to, I'm so curious now. I want to just peek at, like, where would I even find it?
You have to go, like, X-Hamster, YouPorn.
It's going to be, like, on a YouPorn link. Xtube. Okay. We got a page here. All right. We're in the middle. I'm just going to get a little taste of what would be, like, a video that would best represent you. Or, like, are you known for a certain thing, like deep throating or anal? Or do you just, like, whatever one is? One is the other.
I do. I'm known for doing milfy, like deep throat's a specialty, and I do a lot of milf rolls.
Milfy,
so
I love it because obviously they can't use an actual kid who's like 14 years old or, younger. So it's like this 30-year-old guy who's coming home from high school who flunked a lot of grades, has been held back a long time, and there you are, Mrs. Johnson, I really need help with that math homework. You got any tips for me? And then slowly she's pretend she's like looking at the problem like she's actually doing something, and then she'll like slowly brush up against the pants, and then he's always like, Mrs. Johnson, what's going on? I'm 40, but I don't know what's going on. And it goes on. I love those classic setups. All right, give me look at this. You're like in a jersey. I love the little outfits thing. Give me just one that's representative of your work.
Probably probably if you go to the top.
All right.
If you go to so either like one of the first two.
Okay.
Either the one in the green jacket or the one in the beige skirt. Those are kind of like standard.
Green jacket or beige skirt. These are standard right here.
Yeah, that's kind of my like typical. I'm really kind of a more big industry actress. Like there's different.
I have questions about that too. Big industry versus like amateur and what the difference is and whatnot. Okay, take me to a clip right now or just some part of it that I should just skip to because I don't want to watch the whole thing. I don't want to jerk off right now. I just want to get a sense of like what type of stuff you do.
Probably go to the first one, I guess.
All right. Well,
that's like the first one is the one that most people like.
Oh, that's the one that most people like. Oh, well.
Yeah,
I just skipped to the one that I like. Now what? All right, go into this one.
It's industry stuff, so it's like this is like a higher production.
Okay, just take me to like where in the middle.
This one, the guy in this one is kind of like the top porn star in the whole industry,
Okay.
actually. So,
all right.
I'll
skip ahead. Oh, okay. So we have audience can't see this. We have blowjob technique. I like it. We're using a lot of lips. Okay, let's skip ahead to the fucking part. This seems like a. How do I tell if it's a high value? Real quick. How do I tell if it's a high production porn or a low production porn? What am I looking for?
Usually it's the lighting. In this one especially, it's the talent. So like this guy in this one is literally the top porn star in the industry.
What makes him the top?
Bigger than all the girls. In terms of what he gets paid per scene, he's won. Like,
so money-wise, he's the top.
And also he's won all the awards. Like he's kind of prolific. It's interesting. Big industry is interesting because there are not as many male talents,
right?
But the ones that there are more successful and they work very often. So I think that the number is like there are 200 working professional male talents in the industry,
okay.
But there are like 1,000 female professional talents in the industry. Every day they film somewhere between like 50 scenes a day are filmed.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you an idea of
50 scenes
of how that divides out, right?
50 scenes comprising, you mean a whole movie or just various?
So 50 scenes would be like this is a scene.
Right.
It's like an episode, you'd say. So,
do they make a porn movie like, look, we're going to have 5 fucking scenes, and then we're going to throw story in between?
So usually when they do that, they film it like a movie. So you'll have like a cast. Like I do a lot of those too. You have a cast and you have some nominal acting that happens, but it's not the main piece of the industry.
Right.
Like so it'll be fill in. Like here's the story. Here's all these people weave together. Like I just did one. It's called I think Mother Swap 4. So me and another woman.
Yeah. Who's in charge of the names for these films?
Well, you have to see Mother Swap 1 through 3.
Well, from the fuck, yeah, but I'm saying who names a Mother Swap 1 through 3? Why not, Alien Fuck Toy 5? I mean, who comes up with these names?
That's probably been made. I bet if you Google it, you'll find something. Rule 34.
Is it just the writer, or they're just like, look, we need a number to keep track of this when we're looking it up?
That's literally what it is. It's like, well, we've done Alien Fuck Toy 1 through 32, so let's...
Got it. I know. Like, what's the point of, I would think, like, do I want to talk... Okay, this movie's about fucking, so it should have fuck in the title. Or should I just say, okay, we've done Backdoor Sluts 3 through, 17. Let's just do 18 so we save our trouble of thinking up a new title.
Right. I'm not really a privy.
It seems so silly. Listen, if I was going to film porn and I was making a porn film, I would just do it by genre of what I'm looking at. Like, if I'm looking at blowjobs, I'm going to call this blowjobs 1 until I get to, like, blowjobs 5,000. And then I want to differentiate blowjob with teeth, blowjob no teeth, or whatever it is. So at least I know what it is instantly in the title versus I got to look for Backdoor Sluts and Tough Huts 5. Just some, name where people know, oh, that's the porn film.
Well, I think, they try to do it where they create names and titles that kind of tell you what's going to happen. So if it's like Backdoor Sluts, then it's an anal.
Right. So it's that clever little ploy, almost a euphemism, but also they mean business and they're going in the back door. So
exactly.
It's fun for the consumer and the kids, but also racy enough for the adults. They know what they're getting.
Totally.
Okay, good. All right, I want you to shut your mouth for 30 seconds now, and you have 30 seconds to turn me on. And if this scene doesn't turn me on in 30 minutes, I'm going to grade this film. I'm going to grade whether I'd tell you whether I'd watch this or not. All right?
Okay.
Quiet your mouth.
Right.
No, okay, look, listen, I'm not turning. Listen, this guy, he went in too fast. When I'm watching a porn, I want to imagine I'm fucking the girl. Now, when a guy races to get in the pussy that fast, to me, I instantly think he's on a porn set and he's on a clock and he's got to fuck to get his, lunch pail in, start fucking, get out, clock out. Like, I literally picture him with a little time punch. Okay, we fucked 5 minutes. All right, switch the angle. All right, on her back. All right, doggy style. If I have no emotional attachment to this porn, I'm like, next porn. So this is almost like a cookie cutter porn to me where guy's going in, look, when that moment's there, I realize you're trying to get off as a guy. You're bottom line, if I can jerk to it, it's a successful porn. Now, if I was in a tight pinch, I just came out of prison and I had never seen a girl in like 8 years, this is definitely going to do it. But if I have access to all the porn in the universe I want, like everybody has on the internet, and I come here, and this guy's like, okay, I put a little spin on the cock, I was like, oh, this is good. Anticipation. He put a little spin on the cock. He's ready to go in. And he just shoves it in and gets right to the fuck. Oh, kills everything. I want you to want it. I want you to want that. I want you to
didn't watch the beginning, so you missed all the lead-in.
I want you, listen, when he gets to that, when he gets there, he's got his hands around your hips. I want him to tease you with that and make you want that. You look and you make that connection with the eyes, and maybe you don't like the guy and you're trying to fake it, but again, we're at least trying to get the audience involved so they're like, oh, they want this too. I want you to, I would film it all different. I would fire the director and I would get in there and do it the right goddamn way.
I think my porn's just not for you.
No, I think my people, listen, if I became a director of porn today, my porn films would instantly skyrocket to the top. I know what people want. I know what guys want when they're looking at this, and this is not it. This is like the generic. I'm gonna coach you one day. All right, enough of this. I wanted to get a taste for what you were doing here. So let's get back to why you were here in the first place, to talk about your friend. Switch gears. Talk about your friend. Something serious happened to her. This is the video I first saw of you, first mentioned. I heard of your name, and I was like, I gotta talk to this person.
Okay.
What? Fill us in.
Yeah, so what happened was my colleague, Cytherea, she's a prolific porn actress. I mean, she's a big deal. She's been around forever.
Okay.
And she's come and gone in the industry. She actually, the squirting trend, like squirting.
I know there's squirting trends, but I'm not sure, like, I actually have questions about that too. Like, where do they get these trends from? How do they research the trends? Who comes up with it? Do they accidentally see a foot fetish and some guys start emailing it? I need that. I need more foot fetish. And so we start producing more foot fetish porn. I got questions about that.
Okay.
So let's go on with that.
I'll bookmark that. So Cytherea was really the originator of the squirting trend.
Okay.
And the reason for that, she talks about it in another interview, but it's basically she would just squirt naturally when she was orgasming, and she thought there was something wrong with her, and instead it ended up being this big thing. Anyway, but so what happened was
it's hot. The funny thing is, it's hot to see it, but then I've actually had a chick squirt in the bed, and I'm like, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, I have to clean the sheets every fucking time we fuck, or every time she has like a serious orgasm. No. So it's great on paper, and it even looks great, and I like it, but like practically speaking, I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily want to go just squirts everywhere all the time.
Yeah, I think your opinion is probably not unusual. But anyway, so in January, some thugs broke into our house.
Do they know her, or they're just random thugs?
It was just random thugs. It was just Vegas has a high crime rate against them, so these guys.
Was she in a seedy area? I thought she was a porn,
No, they were targeting nicer areas.
Okay.
That was the thing. So these guys had met in juvenile prison, and they broke into her house. They raped her.
I wonder if they knew she was a porn star. Like that was her.
No, that wasn't the. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like they broke into the place, and then she was there. Her husband's there. Her kids. She's 2 kids, 6 and 7 years old. They were there. They pulled her in a room. They raped her. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, but that seems kind of odd to me. Like, I would think, like, if a guy's gonna rape somebody with his buddy, they try to get somebody who doesn't have a whole family or other people they got to deal with.
Well, what was weird is that I guess I don't know the specifics, but here's what I do know is they beat her husband up. There were, I think, 4 or 5 guys who broke in. 3 of them.
Oh, so there's a bunch of people.
There's 5 guys that broke into the house.
Oh, wow.
And that came in armed. And
I thought it was like 2 guys.
No, it was a group, and that's why it was so scary. And actually, I think 3 of them were raping her or taking her to a room. And one of them, the ringleader, came in and said, "Why are you doing that? We got bitches and hoes. Like, don't do that to this woman." And apologized to her and tried to get him to stop. And then he walked away, and then they started doing it again. I mean, it's fucking ghetto shit. So then they stole a bunch of things. The only reason that the cops even caught these fuckers is it happened again like the next night. They did the same thing, same neighborhood. And
with another rape?
Not another rape, but it was another home invasion.
Okay, gotcha.
So they stole some electronics that had tracking devices on them. So they caught the fuckers. But it was just a horrible, horrible, vicious event. And I was alerted to it by several people. The adult industry is small. It's actually a really small industry.
I've seen so many different people on video. Maybe they're just amateurs, or I don't know. I thought it was just
there's amateurs. Also, a lot of talent doesn't stay, but the core talent and the producers and the directors don't change much. There's not that many productions.
So you're telling me I'm seeing like a college teen who's there for a weekend of cash.
Yeah. I mean, you've got those, so that creates a glut of content. But the producers and the people who are industry veterans, there's really not that many of them.
Okay.
So you take a couple thousand people. That's not that many people.
Right.
Small world. So Anyway, so I've been alerted to this by a bunch of people who are industry.
Right.
I don't know Cytherea personally. Now I do. Now I do after all this. But at the time, I really didn't know about her. I knew that this thing happened. Some mutual friends of ours set up a fundraiser. I started promoting it, and then I started noticing that nobody was paying attention to it. And I'm going, what the fuck is
What do you mean nobody's paying attention to it?
Well, the media, nobody in the media picked this up. Like there were.
Yeah, but what makes it a media story besides a home invasion and a rape? I mean, those happen all the time. I mean, not relatively speaking, there's crime around the world, so what makes it so special or newsworthy?
Right. Well, Cytherea is kind of an epic performer, and usually when something
happens, that's true. Celebrity, I guess. But I mean, I didn't know Cytherea. Would she just be known in the porn world, or is she like cross over? Because I've never heard of her.
Did you know Christy Mack? Do you know what happened to Christy Mack?
Yes, I've heard about it. That's been in the news. That's been like on TMZ and media and whatnot.
Right. So most people didn't know who Christy Mack was.
Exactly.
Until she got beat up, right? And then because it was a domestic violence issue, and because it was easy to smear the porn industry and all that, everybody picked it up, and it became a big media thing. And I mean, poor Christy.
I think also because you had the MMA element, and MMA is big, so you know, got a guy named War Machine, and it's a crazy story, so that added to.
But he was a 2-bit MMA guy. I mean, you know, it wasn't like he was a big star in that world. It was that it was easy to agendize. And what pissed me off about the Cytherea thing, this is why I made a video about it, was that here's a woman who was victim to the same brutality. Those of us in the adult industry knew it. And yet the very people who claimed to talk about rape and adult performance, nobody wanted to touch this story. And it pissed me off. And I've been watching this.
Who did you want to touch it?
Well, I wanted the women's lobby to touch it. I wanted the feminists to touch it. Because to me, and I'm glad they picked up the Christy Mack story and things like that, but I've been watching, and I talk about this in the video, for months, I've been watching an increased victim mafia taking over the media narrative. So
the victim mafia, clarify.
Okay, so to me, the victim mafia, and I've spoken about this in other podcasts, there's a group of people, especially in the feminist movement, who are using the narrative of feminism to monetize themselves, the movement, and they're crying harassment. They're basically crying wolf.
Okay. So Nidia Sarkeesian, I'm getting Twitter threats. Send me $100,000 so I can make a video about that.
Bingo. Yeah, and it's it's not just her. I mean, this is like a narrative that's going on. But she's one of the core. One of my core issues, and especially because I've been involved in Gamergate, and it's again, you're hearing people who really haven't gone through any sort of hardship, and what is interesting is the media picks this shit up. Like the media is fine with picking up Anita Sarkeesian. I mean, hell, Nightline did a whole bullshit interview with her, and she's got armed guards and all.
White girls having trouble on Twitter. New story at 11.
Right. I mean, it's basically the nouveau first wave feminism. I mean, they are the equivalent of the lace petticoat suffragettes who want the vote when women in Idaho who get up at 4 a.m. to milk cows have had the state vote for 20, 30 years prior. The difference is that these are women who they want to cry victim if they're upper middle class, higher socioeconomic levels. And see, they don't like porn stars, so that's part of the issue. They don't like us, so they don't want to cover those stories. They only want to cover it if they can agendize it. If it's a domestic violence issue, it could be anti-MMA. But when it comes to here's a public figure that this horrible thing happened to, nobody wanted to touch it. And I reached out to these feminists. I said, hey, can you cover this? Can you signal boost it? Nothing. Fucking nothing. And it's not a shock. I mean, it verifies and validates to me exactly what I've been thinking as people are doing. But
sounds kind of like what happens when guys get fucked over. When things happen to guys, false rape accusations are made against guys. They lose their career. I just read about a guy today who, who's got kicked out of college just on a false accusation. And nothing, you don't hear any stories about that when feminists always say, oh, guys, feminism is for you. It actually helps you, so you shouldn't be finding it. I don't see anything said about that. I never see stuff said about that. So I have the same complaint as you do.
I talk about that in the video because it's like that University of Virginia Rolling Stone case. I mean, this girl ruined this guy's life. Ruined
not only that, the entire frat system was fucked over just on a false accusation, a false story. The entire frat system suffered.
Right. So we have a victim culture now where literally it's guilty until proven innocent.
Oh, yeah.
And you have people's lives who are being destroyed. And the problem with it is that, guess what? Then when something really happens, because everybody's been crying wolf, nobody pays attention to the real story. And some idiot troll was like, oh, that's the fallacy of relative privation and blah, blah, blah. No, it's fucking not. There's a difference between a woman who's really brutally raped in her home, and that can happen to fucking any of us, versus some little, dainty, well-to-do girl in the sorority system who's going to make an art project out of faux victimhood.
Yeah, we have first-hand experience with that. Karen Strong, you were on her podcast. She posted on a video that was recently released, and I think she was one of the top comments on this video. And of course we comment anytime we see her on one of the videos we're looking at, because she's one of the key players there, and she always talks a big game about wanting to debate feminists and their agenda. And of course whenever we call her out, she's nowhere to be found. So we made a comment there, and she characterized it as stalking. She actually, considers herself a professional victim, whereas anytime somebody calls her out and she doesn't like it, it's stalking. So, she made an extortion attempt. She's such a cockroach. She tried to charge us $500 just for the privilege of debating her. She's a coward. So we've experienced it firsthand, where you want to be a professional victim. It's very easy to do it in this culture. If you have the will to do it, a feminist will jump to your defense and paint you as that victim. Just like it was really kind of eye-opening when you see this bitch lied in the Rolling Stone debacle, clearly proven a liar. The facts came out, and even I was so pissed because even the people who realized she was lying, most of all her roommates, were still hedging their bets and still trying to hem and haw and still trying to paint it in a euphemistic way. Like, obviously, she created this fake character who was texting her. In her own delusional head, she had this guy, she had this whole narrative where this guy was in love with her and texting her. She was texting herself this whole time. And the guys who were her roommates who knew she was bullshitting were so careful to say, well, we suppose it was most likely her and we're not sure. I mean, obviously they had opinions about her that they wanted to say, but they were just too frightened to say it because they're worried about the social justice warrior repercussions or looking bad. And meanwhile, feminists can say the most egregious, outrageous, slanderous, libelous things. And just like in the Rolling Stone article, people, they know feminists will try and cover for them.
Well, I mean, I had this argument with some dude who, it's funny because I'm a minority female, right? But I just call out bullshit. I'm not any ideology, and I'd like to revise my ideology constantly as I learn more, or my lack thereof. I should.
Oh, I got some things to teach you.
But I've got a guy that I was talking to online, and he's a male feminist, and I tend to get corrected, quote unquote, most from the male feminists because I am, my poor little pretty head can't figure things out. They need to teach me how to woman right and all that kind of stuff. So this guy starts telling me, and I got a real fucking problem with the hashtag kill all men. I got a big fucking problem with that because it's gendercide. And if it said kill all women, feminists would be up in arms. But kill all men is somehow okay. That's a joke. I mean, that's not fucking funny to me. Right. So this male feminist starts telling me, oh no, it's a way to let off steam. And I'm going, what the fuck happened to you? Because I'm not a feminist, but if some asshole created a kill all women hashtag, I don't think that's fucking funny. Right. That's not cool. And you're telling me as a dude, you're a man who's telling me that kill all men is a perfectly acceptable term. That he was ribbing me for using the term feminazi. And I'm going, don't you get the irony of this? Here are women.
Well, they really don't, and that's exactly the problem. Nobody will ever stand up to them. We'll call that guy out and have a debate, and he'll make an excuse not to get in a debate. So they don't even get the public scrutiny. They just will give you their argument, and they'll even attack the most passive people. They'll criticize or have so-called debates with people who are just very, they're very euphemistic and they're very diplomatic, and they don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. So they won't even give their real opinion. So you can see the level of discourse they're having, academic discourse they're having when they say, oh, we're feminists and we're open to all ideas. No, they're really not.
No, they're not, and they really hate it when a woman falls out of line. I mean, I'm already a problem. Porn stars are usually a problem to them because what we do is we diminish the value of sex, and most of them think their pussies are gold-plated. So they have this kind of system where they want the benefits of the equality but none of the detriments of it. Yeah. And that's a huge issue that I have with that system as a whole. I mean, again, we're going back to suffragettes. There's a reason that wealthy New England suffragettes in lace petticoats weren't given the vote as readily as women in Idaho. Well, you know why? Because the men in Idaho said, hell yeah, this woman pulls half the weight on my farm. We're a unified unit. Absolutely, I want my wife to have a voice just like I have a voice on the state level. That was not an issue. But these women who were essentially useless, they're sitting around sipping tea and arguing amongst themselves, wanted to have a quote-unquote voice in society, and there was pushback on it because they weren't considered to be useful members of society. And I think what you have right now, you have that is coming to fruition once again, where the modern feminism is coming out of academia. It's not coming from working class people. I was raised by working class people who didn't go to college. So to me, I've got other fish to fry in the world. And I went to college, and I did that. But my core mindset growing up was one of, you survive and you figure things out and you work hard. And I think that when people don't have to worry about that, you're just talking about these little delicate snowflakes of the college system. Mommy and daddy are paying for them to live in a dormitory that looks like the Four Seasons. They don't have any problems, so they're creating them. And
well, the problem is the more really women live an impractical life that allows them to have that because they're so insulated from the experiences that guys go through. I mean, no woman has to worry about the draft or signing up for selective service so they can't get a job and they're thrown in prison. No woman even has that worry on their plate. So they're so insulated from the experience of guys. I mean, I have women, I used to work at this place, and it was an office building, and there's these heavy boxes of files and things that need to be lifted, and that's this woman's job to do that. And yet she's always asking a guy, especially me, to do her job for her. And it never even dawns on her that she's hired to do that job, but all she sees is, oh, guys usually lift heavy things, you do it. And, you know, of course I can make waves and resist, but then I also depend on her for other things done in the office. So I realize if I don't lift this box, I'm going to have to deal with a bunch of shit that's going to be created just by doing this. So I could technically make us think about it, but it's going to bite me in the ass. So women are very insulated because they're allowed to live a very impractical life because of the legal climate that favors women and the social climate that favors women right now. Guys are too much of pussies to even speak up about these things. So it's understandable that you would be this way because some women, you know, are, for whatever circumstance or reason, they're forced to live a practical life. They're forced to make ends meet for themselves. They don't have a man to depend on. And they get thrust into this so-called male life and they start realizing, oh, there's dues to pay to be a man. But of that, I would say the majority of women don't have this experience that you're having. So it's very hard for them to even relate to you when you say, you know, equality means responsibility. If I'm given these privileges that guys are given, certain things are required of me that aren't required of women. And if they don't have this experience that you have, it's very hard to even understand that, oh, I need to be obligated with a vote? I thought I just get to vote and I get to have my say. A lot of women don't even understand that.
Right. Well, I think, you know, here's my take on it. My take on it is that technology has made has made life so easy that it's easy to be narcissistic. So if you look at the Ozarks, for example, in history, ironically, the first forms of technology you really see were men creating technology for women because you had people living on farms and women would want electricity and then they want running water. I mean, these are women who are getting up at 4 in the morning and getting water out of the well, and the men are out tilling the fields. And so you had this kind of cooperative system and people depended on each other. And so you had cooperative relationships because there was a symbiosis. Men wanting to make women happy, and I think that that's kind of a core value. You see it even in little kids. There's little boys want to do that. So I think it's kind of my take on it is it's biological. Men created all this technology to make life easier for the women in their lives, but now we're several generations out of that struggle. So a lot of women don't realize the suffering and the struggles that led to this kind of ease lifestyle. I think humans are pre-programmed to look for challenges because our survival depended on it for so long. So now we live, I mean, you know, at my age right now, if we lived on the prairie, I'd be a grandma. Right? And in the past, people's psychological and sociological development kind of followed that path. So right now, in Jung's archetypes, I would be a crone. And so sociologically and psychologically, I should
Holy be a crone. Christ, is anybody going to understand the jibber jabber you're spouting right now?
Okay, let me
Ozark, Crohn's, Jung's,
they're
like, woo!
Sorry. So in Jungian psychology, the theory of archetypes, women progress through 3 stages. There's the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And they're literal archetypes, the maiden being the untouched virgin, the mother being the new mother, and the crone being the grandmother and into menopause, right? Okay. So in society, up until maybe 100 years ago, again, the average person lived to 40, 50 years old. So most women, by virtue of their giving birth in the natural cycle of life, would progress psychologically through these cycles along with these life markers, right? Some of the problem that you see in modern women is you have 45-year-old maidens. You have people who've never been pushed through hardship to psychologically progress to the next archetype. So, and you see it in stores. Like there's a store called Forever 21. What is that? That's really the externalization of the maiden archetype onto women well past that stage. Well, gee, it's no wonder that the feminist movement encompasses this infantilization of women. Of course it does. Because people are not progressing. Same thing with men. You had the warrior, you had the joker, the mage, you have the magician, and you have
Holy shit, are you reading tarot cards?
No, those are if you look up, there's a great series on the male archetypes. I think I got them right. I might have one of them.
Oh God, I need to talk to you about that. I wanna argue your socks off about that.
Well, it's an archetypal structure, so it's a
right. But I mean, there's archetypes and there's practicality. I mean, we don't approach problems from the way you're approaching them. Is this is an archetype? That doesn't even make sense to people. That's a gamble for people to even accept that. It's better to talk about practical application and what they can relate to, and then take it to maybe a theoretical level. Because if there's no practical connection, it's why should I even listen to this? How does this even fit into my life? So you need to start from the practical application and work the other way versus say, here's the theoretical archetype. Now let's backwards rationalize that and apply that to real life and hope it fits.
Well, see, so it's funny because actually, for me, I did come to it from a practical to theoretical, but that was the closest framework I could find.
Holy Christ! I need to have a long talk with you about this.
Well, it's just a theory. It's like
look, I'm going to keep you on track. Let me give you some other questions about this so we can work at it from different angles. We already got your view about feminism in general, in a roundabout way, but we know how you feel about feminism. Okay. What is your view on relationships then, and how does feminism play into it?
Well, see, so going back to the reason I relate this to history is because I think the problem right now is that relationships are not founded in practicality. So using your terms, let's say that people look to the past and they say, wow, people's relationships worked and people were together for 90 years and et cetera.
What makes them work? What, in your opinion, or what constitutes the ideal relationship to you?
Well, a couple of things. Radical acceptance and honesty.
What's that mean, radical acceptance and honesty?
So to be able to be fully revealed, completely revealed and completely transparent and without judgment. And that requires self-inquiry.
What? So completely revealed without judgment? Everything is a judgment. How could you have a existence? Every second you're reacting to things, you're making judgments. Is that good or bad? Do I like it or not? Is it correct or incorrect? How could you have a transparent, transparency solicits judgment. It's the exact antithesis of judgment. Of what you're saying, of no judgment.
Well, so most people project outward what is actually their issue.
Okay.
So if I have a problem with something, I start seeing it in other people, right? Can we concur to that?
Give me an example. Let's see if we can concur.
Okay, so somebody who is sexually uncomfortable with themselves will be uncomfortable with sexual displays in other people.
Okay, yeah, I would say that, for example, pet owners, they always externalize what they're feeling onto their pets. Like if I'm nervous and anxious, my dog is nervous and anxious around people. Or if I'm, playful, my dog is playful. That type of thing.
Exactly. Okay. So in practical terms, it's that.
All right.
Most people enter relationships without realizing what's going on within themselves. So let's say I'm in a relationship now, and in my last relationship, I don't know, my partner was lying to me about money. I don't know, whatever. I got to think about money. Mm-hmm. And so in this next relationship, until I figure out where the fuck that's coming from in my head and how I'm kind of putting that in my life, I'm going to see everybody's lying about money. Because everybody's lying about money. It's just a thing that's externalized. Because I got a fucking problem with money deep down. So I think that in order to have successful relationships with other people, it's more about self-inquiry and going, well, what am I thinking and what's not working in my life and how am I making that happen, as opposed to just always, it's that person or it's this person. Because when you transfer responsibility, now you actually don't have any control over it. You have control over yourself, pretty much.
Well, there's two problems with that. People are already doing that. They're already trying to figure out what's wrong with them. That's why the self-help section is the biggest section in the bookstore. So that's not helping anybody. Number two, this notion of I'm going to fix things, just finding them in myself. That's what we find is one of the number one problems with guys today, is that they are trying to fix themselves in their heads. They're trying to glean information from a book, from a speaker, from a video, from a movie, and then just apply it and say, this is either works for me or doesn't work for me. I'll apply it or not apply it. I'm going to take it or not take it, and then I'm fixed or not fixed.
I don't think it's information. I don't think it's that. I think it's that you have to figure out what works for you. I know what works for me.
Yeah, but that's exactly the problem. The individual notion that what works for you doesn't work for me and vice versa. This is exactly the type of myths we combat in relationships. That what we teach and demonstrate to people is that needs are universal in relationships. Your needs are my needs. Meaning, if I understand what needs are, then that means, number one, I understand my own needs. And if I understand my needs, I also understand your needs by extension. So, when we talk about we need different things, we're talking about wants, desires, or culture. We're talking about just things that can be acquired. For example, you may need a bicycle and I need a car. Those aren't really needs. That's just a misstatement of culturally I like a bicycle, or I'm comfortable with a bicycle and I grew up with a bicycle, and you like cars because your dad drove a car, or you saw a fast car and you were intrigued by it. So it's not a need. But you need food, I need food. You need relationships, I need relationships. This is a universal thing.
But I think in relationships, if you're talking about core needs in a relationship, people need safety and they need acceptance.
Right.
And they need love. And I think that however you come to that with somebody else is that's how
safety and acceptance.
And love.
Well, yeah, wouldn't everybody need love?
One would think.
Well, but you would be right.
I'm not, I'm not the relationship expert here.
I am. I'm telling you, you're right. We do need that.
Tell me.
Yeah, we do need that. You're exactly right. Everybody needs love. Even the most seasoned player. I mean, people when they reject love or the notion of being emotionally involved with somebody, however they want to term it, they're not rejecting the desire to love or the need to love. What they're really rejecting is the experiences they've had. They're like, when people say love sucks or love doesn't exist because either they haven't found it, they've had bad experiences with it, they've been fucked over, they don't know how to manage people in a relationship. All reasons to say there's no such thing as love. You can't trust love. I don't need love. I just want something else. I either want money, career, or I want to fuck. So
I think people are afraid of loss. I think that the fear of loss for a lot of people is so great that they're unwilling to try for love. And that's the great travesty of modern relationships.
It's not loss. People are definitely afraid of loss.
Right.
But before loss comes the self-esteem. Because a lot of people attach their self-worth, their self-esteem to whatever pet theory they've adopted in their life.
Right.
And they have a huge emotional investment in being right about something or doing things a certain way. And if the rug is pulled out from under them, that theory is proven wrong, or they just don't get a good result out of that, their self-esteem suffers a huge blow. Their worth, all their investment in, this is what will make me feel the best. That's pulled out from under them. That's a devastating thing. Nobody ever wants to lose that. So usually what happens is people don't have that death blow to their self-esteem. They don't have that tragic experience. It's usually gradual, or it's not as tragic as it could be. They don't have the huge loss of friendships or the huge breakup. It's just like it's over time. They just have bad relationship after bad relationship. So it's not some severe huge thing. So a lot of times what happens is people just backwards rationalize. Oh, that was their fault for this reason, or that was the weather was bad, or it was just in the wrong place. We were just in different places, or she just wanted kids, I didn't. So they use all these other reasons rather than say I was wrong, or the way I view relationships is wrong, or I'm incapable of maintaining or creating a relationship the right way. So the self-esteem is heavily invested in that delusion, that idea that this is the way I've been taught to do it, therefore this is the way it is. This is the right way. And if somebody tells me otherwise, it's really wounding. It's really a big blow to the pride to be told you're wrong.
Well, the number one thing that people want to be is right. So once they've decided that they're right, it's very hard to dissuade them. Otherwise, I mean, myself included, and this is the
right. That's why I'm here. I'm here to dissuade you. I'm very good at that. And the best way to dissuade people is with practical experience and putting that experience together so the puzzle looks correct. Because a lot of times people will give you pieces of the puzzle. They'll tell you something about yourself. They'll tell you you're an asshole. They'll tell you you're being a bitch. They'll tell you you're being difficult. They'll tell you you're being defensive. They'll tell you you're being too this or too that. They'll give you a piece. They'll give you indication. But nobody ever puts it together. That's what we do. We actually put it together. We tell you the girl side and the guy side. It's like yin and yang. You have two roles that you play. Guys are not smarter than women by accident. Guys are not stronger than women by accident. It's a reciprocal relationship. And the problem is, you've been taught, I've been taught, everybody's been taught that relationships should be equals. You should be exactly equal to a man. You should be, have the vote like a man, have the earning power man, have everything the same as a man. So there's this whole homogenization of every gender function. That's exactly what feminists are trying to push. That's exactly what the president's trying to push. The problem is, real life doesn't work that way. I mean, for as many arguments as I've heard, girls are just as strong as guys. It's just a matter of training. It's just a mindset. They've been taught the wrong thing. No, it's complete bullshit. And the guy knows that growing up. Doing sports with girls or wrestling with girls or whatever, they come in physical contact, they realize this is complete bullshit. But they're always told the opposite. Same with the intelligence thing. Guys today are told, there's a study released. It's such a landmark study, and people are saying, oh, women are finally proven smarter than men. They're finally smarter than men. But real life obviously just proves that all the inventions, the vast majority of inventions were made by men, society built by men. So we have this big controversy. And women are taught, the problem is women are taught to value male attributes like strength and intelligence. They think, if I'm not strong and super intelligent like a man, I'm not worth anything. And that does such a disservice to a woman. Number one, it teaches her to neglect her own function as a woman. And number two, it's a deceptive way to look at things, because if you're competing against a man, it's like me competing at birth against a woman. If that's not my job, not my function, then I'm always going to be frustrated. I'm perpetually going to be looking down at myself. Why aren't I good enough at bearing a baby like Mercedes? I don't have the womb. It's just, I got to try harder. I got to have more fertility pills. I got to do something. I got to adopt. Maybe that's the kind of the game changer. If I adopt kids, I'll feel like I'm winning that birth race. So it's just this misplaced ideal of what is viable as a woman and what is valuable as a man. And when you fuck with function, you destroy a relationship because relationships depend on those functions. There's a reason why the top fantasy for women is rape. There's a reason why women respond to quote, quote, assholes. There's a reason why they say nice guys finish last. There's a reason why there's such a thing as the friend zone. It's because they're trading functions. Men are trading functions with women, and women are trading functions with men. I just talked to a woman today who's going through a divorce, or she's on the very verge of getting divorced. She's already, in her head, she's already quit the relationship. She doesn't realize she's a bitch. I told her for the first time today, you're a bitch. But nobody's ever told you that. She's like shocked. Oh my God. But her husband is at the end of that. He's experiencing her being a bitch. The difference is because she's a bitch because he's a pussy. He's an emasculated male. He doesn't know how to take charge of the relationship. So number one, they were in love in the beginning. That's fine. Everybody's happy. Everybody's putting their best foot forward. But the problem is whenever there's a struggle with power, control, who's in charge of the relationship, that always comes up, the woman, especially in American society, generally ends up making the decisions. And when she does that, she slowly starts losing respect for this guy. And when the respect goes, the attraction and the love soon follows. So it's like, over time, women just go like, he's a nice guy and everything, and he does the right things, but I'm just not attracted to him for whatever reason.
Right.
So I was telling her this today, and then the light finally clicked on, that's why I'm so bitchy, because he's neglecting his duties, and as a woman, somebody's got to do the duties. They're not going to just go away. And when I step into the male role and I start taking charge, I got to decide on the major issues. I got to decide with kids and whatnot. All the stress you put on me, I got to make the decisions. It's not her job, number one, to do that. Guys aren't also trained to do that in this society today. And because of that, now she slowly loses attraction for this guy. And this guy is trying everything desperately to get her back. And he doesn't even realize it's over. So he's now at this kind of like anger stage where he's like, fuck that bitch. I've given her everything and she's giving me nothing back. Meanwhile, he doesn't realize he's part of the reason why the relationship failed in the first place. He wasn't able. It's not his fault because nobody taught him. Everybody taught him, look, just be 50-50. Just be nice to her. She'll be nice to you. You guys will sing Kumbaya. You'll decide together. Make the decision together. I tell guys all the time, making the decision together is like steering the car together. You're a fucking retard. If somebody told you, look, if somebody told you right now, you were both in the car and I said, both you grab the wheel and steer, you think I was crazy? You go like, instantly you'd see the impracticality. You go, if we both try to steer, we're going to crash. We can't, somebody has to take charge of this car. That's the exact same with a relationship, except with a relationship, we're taught, it's just 50-50. Meanwhile, nobody sees the 50-50 divorce rate being produced when there's always this struggle of authority. Who's in charge? We're just going to work it out. It never works out that way. Ideally in our heads, it sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a great idea in a Disney film. That's why they always fucking make them that way. But in real life, it doesn't work out that way. And guys are finding this out the hard way. That's why you have those MGTOW groups who are like, fuck women, they're all deceitful gold diggers, and they're just out for themselves, so we're just going to go our own way. We're going to abandon women. Fuck women. Right. And then you have the feminist movement, which is, they're both right in some sense because they are getting screwed over. And on the women's side, men aren't taking charge. They aren't making the decisions that need to be made. They don't know how to govern people in a relationship. So women also suffer. So they're like, well, men aren't doing their share. We need to stand up for ourselves. We need the vote. We need this. We need that. We need the pay, etc. And they're right. So their complaints are valid on both sides, except nobody is seeing that the functions are being abused in relationships and nobody is teaching them how to have a proper relationship. I mean, if I'm going to look as a guy, if I was to go, well, I don't know anything about dating. I don't know anything about relationships. I need some help. Where the fuck am I going to go? Dear Abby? Cosmo? Oprah? Who's going to help me? Nobody. If the options I have are pickup artists who are going to scam me out of money, who are going to teach me how to wear a fucking 5-foot mohawk on my head and 7-foot lips to attract women. I got men's rights activists who are going to teach me how to whine better. I got, I was looking for YouTube for some videos on how to socialize. It's abysmal what guys have to depend on to form a relationship. It's like guesswork. They pick it up piecemeal just like I did. I watched a movie. I saw guys I emulated and guys I liked. I thought, I want to be like, Robert De Niro. I want to be serious and kick ass. I want to be like James Dean. I want to be cool. I want to be like, Tom Cruise. I want to be hip. There's so many things you pick up, but that's what you do as a guy. You just kind of emulate what's around you. But as far as like mentoring and relationship advice, I mean, when we had sex ed in class, it was soap your armpits and get a condom before sex. Well, how do I fucking even get to sex? I mean, I'm with my hand most of the time. How do I get a girl? There's no advice for a guy other than, read a book, how to pick up a woman in a bar. I mean, the advice is so few and far between, or it's really bad.
Yeah, well, I think the reason even though it may seem impractical to you, the reason I brought up the farming families on the prairie, the reason I talked about that was an era where people had distinct roles that were complementary. And I think, look, I'm not a religious person.
And you said the right word there, complementary. Our functions complement. Right now, they compete. You can't have relationships when you have competition.
And I have something to say about that exactly. I think what most women don't learn about men early on is you never compete with men because men are hardwired to win when they compete.
Well, look, the problem, you can tell that to a woman today, but she's forced to compete with a man in the workplace, in education. Everywhere you go, women are taught you're just as good as a man, which really means you got to compete with a man. Because when we hear that, we're like, okay, we got to compete too. So you can't compete with a guy and then suddenly go, oh, and by the way, let's have a romantic time where we support each other, we compliment each other. It's impractical. It doesn't even fit.
But that's my point. Is I think what's happened with technology and society is it's created a structure that's unnatural. So as women don't know what to do with themselves. They've been forced into the workplace. I think a lot of them are wishing that they didn't have to be there. Wages have dropped to half of what they were in the 1960s. So now two-income families are a necessity in order to exist. That's part of the the structure of the framework to impoverish everybody. And most men are now displaced. They don't even know what to do with themselves. They don't have that structure. They no longer have supportive females. Supportive.
Well, they got support from their single mothers. Unfortunately, mothers don't know how to teach guys how to attract women, how to form relationships with women. My mom told me, be respectful of women and, get her flowers and, typical bullshit you could see in a movie. I could have watched my mom's advice unfolding in, some Disney movie about romance, and it doesn't get you. The problem is it works only on screen, but in real life, you get left in the friend zone or the girl loses interest over time. Guys experience this in real life, so they already know, be nice to a girl. I mean, the guys who believe that are hardcore just manginas who are just begging for pussy, or they're pining for one girl who they haven't had a word with in 10 years, but they're just hoping beyond hope that if it'll just turn around one day. If I just cross my fingers hard enough and just keep being nice enough to her, eventually she'll realize I'm that guy.
Right.
Pipe dream.
Well, I mean, this is the problem when you have a society that women are being taught, and I say this as a woman who was raised in this culture, women are being taught to, like you said, value the male traits at the expense of the female traits. I think that there needs to be, and we're seeing this, we're actually seeing a decreasing birth rate as a result. We're seeing a society.
Yeah, talk to Japan. You guys over there, you can't tell the guys from the girls.
Right, and I think that if we look at this over time, this is where you have these relationships where you've got a bitchy, demanding woman, you've got a beta male mangina dude, and they're both frustrated.
I hate that term beta male, but I understand what you're saying, an emasculated guy. There's this notion it's so perpetuated by society today, and even, I'm not sure if it's the Pickup Artist community or where it started, but this notion that there's alpha males, these guys who are the pack leaders, and then everybody else is a beta male. This is such a bullshit concept, and we disprove it every time.
Well,
get that dirty word out of your mouth. Just say emasculated guy or pussy. That's better than mislabeling the problem. It's just as bad as saying introvert and extrovert. If that was the case, I would be an introvert for the first part of my life and now be an extrovert. It doesn't make sense. We've disproven this. It's just a matter of social training. Some people are trained to socialize, and some people are poorly trained to socialize. So what I've had over time is social training where I can actually speak to people and get into relationships with them. Whereas if you saw me in the first part of my life, you'd be like, this is an introvert. This is INTP, whatever those Myers-Briggs personality bullshit tests say. Those terms are part of the problem because they insulate the problem. They insulate you from reality. If you're an extrovert, if you're an introvert, right, and it's a part of your genetic DNA makeup, how could you ever possibly become an extrovert? Or how could you possibly ever socialize? It gives you a reason to say, oh, that's why I'm shy. Oh, that's why I can't talk to people. I'm just an introvert. It gives you an excuse. Complete bullshit. Get those two words out of your mouth. I want to put something else in your mouth, but not those words. Keep those words out of your mouth.
All right,
go ahead.
Okay, I don't even know. I think you.
Okay, so you're talking about we have this. I was going to say movement. We have this problem where we have bitchy women, we have emasculated guys, or pussy whip guys.
Right.
And you were saying something about society was leaning towards some way, or they were discovering something.
No, well, I think that I'm just saying that the problems that we have right now are the result of kind of unnatural structures. And you're talking to, I succeeded in male worlds. So that's something as a disclosure that you can know about me. Mm-hmm. I went to university for engineering. I worked in aerospace. What I found actually by working with a lot of men is that men are uncomfortable competing with women. It's because it's not hardwired. So it's a very uncomfortable position for a lot of modern men. And
I used to play sports with, and girls would play basketball with us. And it's like even, it's not even necessarily the business world, but like, if a girl is slower than you, and you try to guard her and bump her, people are going to say, come on, you're fighting a girl, or you're bumping into a girl, and it's automatically in your mind, all the guys are acutely aware that they're guarding a girl or doing something to a girl, so it's like automatically you even handle her differently.
Well, and there's a reason for that. I mean, look, in the last 50 to 100 years, we're trying to, rewrite biology, and it's not working.
No, it definitely isn't working. You got that right.
They did a study on muscle. Even the top, I think it's the top 10% of female Marines don't even perform as well as the bottom 20% of Army private first class males. It's just this is just biology. It's really very simple.
Yeah, but the problem is feminists are just want to chalk it up to just culturalization. You're raised a certain way. You actually do have this ability, and that's why the public suffers at the end of the day, because now you have women in roles they don't have no fucking business being in. Policemen, firemen. Right. These jobs should be going to guys who have the ability and the capacity to do this, and they're given to women for some equality agenda. Meanwhile, you suffer in real life when this equality agenda gets put in place. I mean, when push comes to shove, who do I want rescuing me from a burning building? A guy with strength, or some 120-pound woman who is past requirements that are aimed at females?
Right. And I think that the problem is, it's interesting because you talk about, let's say there's physical differences and there's mental differences. I actually was diagnosed with Asperger's.
No, there's no such. I hate that they told you that. It's like the people that are told they have ADHD. No.
They told me that here, and I preface that. I'm not saying that I do, but I'm prefacing.
You don't. I just cure you. Hold on, I'm gonna cure you right now. You're cured. Okay, go ahead.
But the reason that they quote unquote diagnosed me with it is I had an affinity for mathematics and science, and as a woman, it's interesting because they'll tell you as a woman, oh, you can be anything you want to be, but then if you're actually good at what they consider to be male fields, they diagnose you with something, right? So it's kind of a bullshit system. Right. But
just like when guys are rambunctious in early elementary school. Oh, where's the Ritalin? Where's the Prozac? I can't believe you can't sit in your chair and you're a young kid. Let's get the medication out.
Right. It can't possibly be because they're young and they're creative.
It can't possibly be because they're males and they have a different fucking biology. No, it has to be that something's wrong with them. We've demonized being a man, the whole concept of being a man.
Well, even a lot of the girls, I mean, kids shouldn't sit in the same room every day for 12 hours a day. It's not humane. It's, again, all these systems we're talking about are totally counter to what's normal for humans. And I think, this is why the feminists are starting to get pushed back. This is why there's such frustration in societies. Nobody knows where they fit anymore.
Wow, it sounds like you support our academy. We're proud to have you as a mascot. Wow, our first porn star mascot of Manhood Academy.
Well, you have to put me through the academy.
I know, we haven't even put you through your paces yet. You haven't even paid your dues. Look, see, okay. I already started, I'm halfway through and I got a couple, and then I'm at the porn questions. I have so many porn questions. How did you get into porn? It was a path. So I was working in engineering, then I worked in telecom, then from there I worked in TV, film production, and photography, stuff like that. So I kind of worked in the industry, the mainstream industry. Yeah, but I didn't aspire to become a serial killer. I mean, nobody mentally healthy goes into the porn industry. It's just like saying, you're going to become a stripper. I wouldn't say, no. You got to understand it's performance. I think people. It's not performance. Performance is I'm a bush in a school play. Getting jizz on my face from a stranger is an intimate act. It's not something that it's not a normal thing for you to fuck some guy and then just call it work, or just it's like saying stripping is a normal occupation, or it isn't. It's absurdly abnormal. When I talk to strippers, they're not normal people. They don't view the world in a normal way. It's not normal.
Well, that's true that it's not normal because
there's a reason why strippers and porn stars have abusive childhoods, abusive past. It contributes to their career path.
That's been debunked. They did a study on it. Please. They found that secretaries.
Number one, you should know I don't trust any study done that I'm not a part of, because I've seen so many bullshit studies. For example, one of the biggest studies that even the president parrots, he's such a fucking retard, is the pay inequality, the wage gap, where women make only 77 cents for every dollar a man makes, somewhere around there, 77, 78. Of course, they don't tell you that they average every fucking person's salary in that bracket, so they're averaging doctors and plumbers, and then over here they're averaging bloggers and, seamstresses, and they're saying, oh, just overall, it's unfair. So they don't even tell you all the variables. You can't trust these bullshit studies.
I'm telling you.
I don't care if you're telling me. I'm familiar with real life. I'm familiar with practical application. So when you tell me this study says, instantly I say, fuck that study. Tell me what your life says. Tell me what rational thought says. Give me an argument. Give me at least a reason versus a study says. I don't believe studies. I have too much experience to believe a study.
You you said that everybody knows that all these people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you that a study says otherwise. And I'm telling you from my life experience, working in porn as a performer is really not very different than working in mainstream as a performer. You know, you can believe whatever you want about it. Like
I do, but you're telling me that girl, I mean, I've dated women, so I know how women in general view sex. So for you to tell me it's a normal thing for a woman, oh, you know, I'm just going to fuck it. You know how I've spent most of my life telling me, oh, you can't do that, it's too fast. Oh, I don't have the emotional connection yet. So you're telling me this is a normal activity for women is complete and utter bullshit.
I'm not saying for women. I'm saying that for some of us who go in the industry, we're perfectly fine with it. And no, it's not for everybody.
That's like saying there's some serial killers who are good and some serial killers aren't. Some are in it for the wrong reasons, but there's a small segment of serial killers who are doing it for the right reasons.
If you're really going to make the argument that serial killing is the same thing as
it is. It's just dysfunctional. It's like saying, let me give a better example. What's another silly occupation we have that MMA? Perfect example. MMA fighting. I mean, punching people in the face, hurting another human being, calling it a sport. I mean, it's an absurdly bad activity. I know MMA fighters, and it's either like their social skills are poor. So this is a quick way to feel like you're in control of a relationship because you can dominate an opponent, you can beat a guy. So it's another area of competition where you can feel good about yourself. But at the end of the day, you're punching somebody in the face. Just same thing with boxing. You're hurting somebody as an occupation and calling it a valid occupation. It's just as bad as basketball. Basketball is a hobby. You throw in a round ball through a hoop, and yet people want to be aspire to be basketball stars, aspire to be sports stars, and call it a real job, a real occupation. It's a joke. It's nonsense.
Do you have questions about porn? Or
yeah, I do have questions about porn, but I like to give you my opinion in the process. I'm not. Listen, the last interviews you had were complete and utter fucking toadstools. They didn't move. I actually move. I will talk to you. I have conversations.
You're equating porn to serial killing, and I think that's...
Listen, that's just one example. I'm not saying it's strictly serial killing. I'm telling you, it's just as dysfunctional. Just like saying people trying to legitimize any kind of hobby or niche thing because they're in it. Your self-esteem is invested in it. You want to feel bad about being a porn star.
Well, I choose to do it, so I don't feel bad about it.
Well, no, but nobody's ever. You don't want the scrutiny about it. So, I mean, it's understandable why it's sensitive. I'm just telling you, it's not a normal thing, and I can prove to you why.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't normal. I mean,
I agree with you. I'm not telling you that everything is normal and porn stars are abnormal. I'm telling you it just happens to be one of these abnormal occupations which people try to normalize. There's a lot of things in life people try to normalize because they're involved in it. Just like, look at people are normalizing cannabis. That's a big thing right now. Smoking marijuana. But that's not a normal thing. People in a happy, good relationship don't smoke marijuana. I know that because I smoke it. I'm not smoking it because my life is going great. I'm smoking it to relieve a tension that I can't address or a problem you can't deal with or some abnormal aspect of life. It's not a normal thing to go, you're born and then I aspire to smoke pot. I hope I end up smoking pot one day. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that are normalized which aren't normal.
Well,
and things I partake of it. And
medicine is abnormal. The medical care system is abnormal. It's abnormal to sew people's limbs back on. I mean, there's all kinds of,
I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you. It's just like it's abnormal to have a person in a coma for 10 years and be on a breathing apparatus that breathes for them. There's so many things that are abnormal that are normalized in life. Porn just happens to be one of them. I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
Or 99%. I don't know which it is right now. Let's get these porn questions. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got... what does it take to get into porn? Like, can you get in being an amateur? Can I just send in a film and all of a sudden I'm in porn?
No, it's actually pretty competitive. There's a lot less work than there are performers right now.
Why couldn't I just, say, find a girl, fuck her on film, and then get paid for it?
It doesn't work that way anymore. The way the industry works is you can either do amateur
I thought it was actually going towards that, because I thought amateur, hour where guys film things that it looks like I don't know if they're intentionally trying to do that to get the amateur look, but I have a home video and I'm filming girls, and it's more like, it's almost like you feel it's closer to the consumer, like, that's something that could actually happen.
Right, so they have the professional version of that. It's called POV, and then they've got the amateur version of that. The people who are part of the industry, everybody's tested every 2 weeks. Our tests are all part of a database.
Is that legal? A legal issue so if you actually produce a porn film?
It's an industry mandate, so it's not like a legal issue. It's not like a mandate from the state or the federal government. It's an industry-wide accepted protocol so that we can all work together. So
good, because I don't want my abnormal porn stars using condoms. I hate when they use condoms. I understand why they're using condoms, but it kills it for me. It kills the whole... I know they say, it's just as sexy. They have these ads. I've seen certain ads, and there's no problem. It's just as sexy as with a condom without. As a consumer, no, it isn't. it's totally fucking different.
Well, and that's a whole, we can go down that path, but we're not going to.
So. I want to get down that path. That's why I'm here. I'm here to go down all the paths that people don't want to go down.
Well, okay, so right now, there's a legal battle about, in LA County, it's actually required that porn producers use condoms on set.
Yeah, I heard that. It was more of a legal issue now, right? Is that correct?
It's legal.
Okay.
LA County passed that, I don't know what you call it.
I guess I won't be consuming any porn from LA County.
Yeah, well, what it's done is it's driven porn in LA County underground, and it's moved a lot of it out to Vegas and
right. Because if you have the choice between seeing a guy fuck a chick without a condom versus seeing a guy fuck a chick with a condom, you're going to choose the guy without the condom.
Right, and the producers know that. So
here's what I do. I think, listen, because when I'm a guy and I picture a guy with a condom and he's saying, "Oh, it feels so good," I fuck the girl with a condom. I know that doesn't feel good, so I'm thinking, that must suck for him.
Right, most of the performers don't. I don't like condoms on set, especially because our testing protocols work. They work really well, actually. There hasn't been an HIV on-set transmission since like 2004.
Oh, I have a question about that too. That's the one thing I'd probably worry about the most as a porn star would be the STDs. How prevalent?
We're tested every 14 days, and our HIV test actually would detect the HIV as a virus, not in the blood, not as a an antibody. So as a result, it's highly accurate, and it would detect the virus in your blood before it's transmissible. So that's
okay. So we checked off HIV off the list. Now we only have like about 4,000 more.
No, so what they test for HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia.
Yeah, but don't some of those things take like a little while to show up, and they wouldn't instantly?
No, I mean, the way the tests work, the biggest issue that you can catch, and it happens in the industry sometimes, is chlamydia. That'll make a circuit every now and then.
Oh.
Which is, you take an antibiotic. But actually, the rates of STDs in the porn industry is lower than on a college campus, like far lower. So by quite a bit. I mean, it's just industry's pretty close loop. Now, amateur is a whole different thing. They don't have testing protocols. They do whatever the fuck they want, and that's why industry's kind of a closed circuit. And when people enter, they immediately go through our testing database.
Oh, okay. Do they have like a whole screening process? Do you have to have a resume with you?
No, but the agencies are actually very picky these days because there's not that much work. You got to keep in mind the internet has pretty much killed the big porn industry, so there's not nearly as much money in it as there used to be. It's still good money if you're a performer, but there's not as much work.
Do you have to have a big dick, or do you just have to have a good speech?
If you're a dude,
yeah,
you have to have a big dick and have good dick control. So you got to be able to keep it hard.
I thought people just used Viagra or took medication to keep it up now.
Yeah, but it's still like the one thing they do is that Cabraject, which is they actually shoot their penis up.
Oh wow, that's scary. When I heard about that, like I forget there was a news article I was reading, and I couldn't believe it. Like guys are actually injecting it with a needle into their cock.
It's kind of frowned upon. Most of the guys, if they
it's scary. It's not only frowned upon. It's by me. It's like watching a Saw movie. To even think about it.
Yeah, so some of them use Viagra, some don't. The prize performers don't use anything. That's why they're like the big prize.
They're just horny.
They're guys who have and are able to come on command. They literally are able to like, okay, now here's the time that I'm going to come.
Wow.
It's a it's like they're honestly underappreciated.
I come when I have some emotional attachment. It's so much easier because you're like, you're into the girl. You're like, so yummy. But then like when you're fucking a girl you don't like, and then you gotta come to. It's like almost like you're concentrating. It becomes work. It's like okay,
it is work.
Don't move.
It's work.
I know, but I'm thinking about from the guy's point of view when he's watching it. He actually wants to enjoy what he's seeing, not be just in this guy's head where he's thinking, "Oh, I'm fucking a chick and I gotta come at the right time." And you actually want them to seem like they're into it, not faking. That's a trick.
Well, sometimes people really are into it. It just depends on the.
I agree, but I'm wondering how the momentum shift. For example, one of the questions that I've always had is, when they cut to the cum shot, and like the guy's fucking the girl, and then either they'll do it abruptly where it just switches angle, and then you just see him like you get a shot of his face for 10 seconds. You're like, oh, I'm jerking off to a guy's face, and then they go to the cum shot. They show the girl's face. You're like, why did I have to watch the guy's face for 30 seconds? That killed everything. That killed the momentum. That killed everything. That's the worst transition ever. Or there's the one where the guy pulls out. And he's ready to come. He's actually ready to come. And then he's like going to the girl. And all of a sudden there's a cut. Like she's totally in it. She's like moaning, oh yeah, come on my face. And then they cut. And then you see her face is like stone cold. And you realize, oh, this girl's been waiting here 30 minutes while this guy's jerking off and waiting for the cum shot. Why do they do that?
That happens sometimes. And that's the difference between the top tier male performers who can come almost on command and the guys who are newer and it takes them 30 minutes.
No, I'm not saying 30 minutes. Like I don't understand where the guy's actually ready to come. He's pulling out. He's going towards her face. And then they cut the shot, and then it goes to you. You see the girl's face, her voice tone, everything changes with her. And so you realize something's off here. She was super duper excited. Now she's kind of like what's going to go happen in about 2 seconds face.
Right. Well, it's because of the way they edit and cut. And
I know, but I've seen that so often. I thought there was some reason behind it. Why? Like,
well, a lot of times it's because what they're doing is they're cutting together softcore and hardcore footage. So what'll happen is the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna come," and it's like he's not. He's acting, and then he pulls out, and then something else happens. They rearrange the lights or change the camera, and then he's got to jerk off to come so they can get the on his face.
Oh, wow.
So that's usually it's just a matter of the way they edit the scene together.
Oh, got it.
It depends. I mean, if I watch it, I could probably tell you.
Oh, there's so many things I would disallow on my porn set when I'm a director. I have all these things. I'm already directing movies in my head. No, not that way. Oh, that's never going to be. My films will be marked by quality. He'll never see any of that bullshit.
There's some really, really amazing porn directors and producers out there. It's just you don't find their stuff on the internet because they tend to.
Yeah, I haven't even filmed my first scene yet. I haven't even directed my first action picture yet.
Well, but I'm talking like DMCA, those kind of notices. It's like those guys who do high-end content don't want it on the internet.
Gotcha. Okay. What kind of? I don't care about the legal restrictions. I heard if you're a guy, you got to start in gay porn, and the demand is obviously marketed towards men because the demand for porn is obviously marketed towards men, and they got a higher libido. But do you then move into straight porn, or is that true? Is that a rumor?
No. Well, if you do that, then you're almost marked. Like the straight porn side doesn't want guys who've worked in the gay side because of
I thought one of the most famous guys, what's his name? The dude who comes like a ton, Peter North.
He did, and that was a different era.
Okay.
That was like a different industry. The reason now that it's frowned upon is the HIV testing. The gay side of the porn industry doesn't use the same testing protocols, and they don't test for HIV the same way. So the straight side of the porn industry, they don't like men who've been in the gay side because everyone's concerned about the HIV rate.
Phew! So I don't have to start off in gay porn. That's a relief.
No, it's not a thing.
I don't know how this works with other guys, but like, every guy when they first hear like there's a job called porn star where I get to do something I love to do is fuck. And then I'm sure everybody has this aspiration when they grow up, like not when they grow up, but just like, wouldn't it be cool, like a little fantasy? Wouldn't it be cool to be a porn star? I get to get paid to fuck women all day. But then when you hear about the realities of the porn set and what it's like, and then I never even pictured this, and I'm sure most guys growing up before they even had sex, like, what if you had to have sex with different women? Oh, great idea. But then you gotta. It's a job. It's like saying to a kid who's never had ice cream, what if you get ice cream every day, even though you had it one special time of year at Christmas, it was delicious. But what if you have to have ice cream every day? And you're like, I can't wait. And then you get ice cream a month in a row and you're like, oh, wait a second. I'm getting what I love, but it's just like overkill. I gotta think like, what would it even be like to have a porn job where you eventually does it become a job or does it still say porn? Is it like, I'm fucking a guy or I'm fucking a girl? Or does it eventually become like, time to fuck a guy, time to fuck a girl?
It depends on the shoot. It depends on who you're working with. So some days it's like, yeah, I get to fuck this person. I'm super excited, and like we have a great rapport, and it's awesome, and I'm excited to film it. And then some days it's like it's a job, especially with the high production shoots where there's like a lot of different camera angles and lighting. Even as much as you're into that person, you're fucking in a way that's weird. So
I hate that when they switch angles so many times. I never understood that. That would never be in my porn films. I don't understand why.
Some people like it though. That's why they do it.
Who likes it? Not me. I hate it. Who likes it?
There are guys who like it.
I want to punch them in their faces. They're responsible for my bad viewing pleasure. I hate when you're getting it and you're like imagining you're there because it's a continuous angle and you got a nice top shot, top down, and then all of a sudden, let's switch to the back now. And you're like, what the fuck? Who designed this? It's so horrible.
Well, you should just stick with amateur porn then. Because the thing is, like, the higher end productions are guys who like to see that kind of direction quality. I don't know.
Direction quality? I want continuity, not direction quality. I understand a good, like, the HD and seeing things close up and it's more titillating, but these cuts, I don't know if the director's artistic or just out of his mind, but so many just changes of angles is like distracting. When bottom line is you're trying to beat off as a guy.
Well, it depends. I mean, there's different markets, and the directors do listen to the consumers.
Well, they better listen to me because I got the most important feedback of all.
Well, you better let them know that.
You know what? I better give them a strongly worded letter. By the way, who decides on the angles? Because I like the point of view angle where you get to see the chick's ass and because I love doggy style and you're coming from behind and you feel the chick's ass right against your stomach and it's hot, that angle top down. So it's like the small of her back and her looking over your shoulder at you. That's such a great angle, but I understand maybe it's hard to get. And I think about it, like where would the camera go? I never really thought about that before, but I started thinking about it when I was writing this question. Where would the camera go? And so I can kind of see why that would be tough. But once you got a good angle, why do they switch to like, one of the angles I've seen a lot is where they go from the bottom up. So you see the guy's balls and the bottom of her butt looking from the ground up. And I hate that angle. And why do they pick angles like that? Like these unnatural angles you would never see if you were fucking a girl.
I think it's, again, some of these things were customary old porn industry. Like had to do
I've seen these in modern films.
No, I know, but what happens is...
Fire those directors. I want you to find out who they are for me. I want you to tell me who they are. I want to talk to their supervisors. I want them fired.
You should. Well, you can email them.
I want them emailed, and I want them to tell them, can you fire yourself? Don't ever produce another porn film. If I see another one of these stupid angles, I want you fired instantly.
You could be that guy. There's plenty of fans who are like that.
Oh, look, there's another one. The other one I want to talk about is where the guy's sitting on a couch or sitting somewhere facing you, facing me. I mean, the guy watching, and then the girl sits on him facing the same way. So you're both facing me.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
And they're on there, and I'm like, what? Who designed this porn? They should be slapped. They should be drummed out of the industry. I'm trying to be turned on, not just like, oh, okay, new angle, good for you. I want to be turned on. Who thought of this?
Right, I don't know, but most performers they call it reverse cowgirl, and everybody hates doing it, so.
Oh, so stupid.
I'm with you. I actually hate that position. If I never had to do it again.
My favorite positions are that where it kind of like, it feels like the spoon to me, because I love cuddling a girl. I like having the girl in front of me and just cuddling her and feeling my chest against her back and her hair wafting down at me and her looking over her shoulder and kissing me and saying stuff. And I feel like I'm in that controlled position. I like that. So anything where that happens, where either they're laying down side by side and he's spooning and fucking her and he can grab her ass at the same time, he can run his hand down her thigh, or just straight from behind. Like any of those types of angles, I love those angles. But it seems like they're so minuscule. Like if I was to go percentage-wise, I would say they're probably like 1/4 to maybe 1/8 of a porn, where majority of porn is a stupid, like, missionary position angle or reverse cowgirl, or all these stupid angles where it's hard to see what's going on, and you can maybe see the guy's shoulder and her face, or it's just a bad, stupid shot in general. I mean, I'm paying to see genitals, I'm paying to see her ass, I'm not paying to see the guy's back. I'm not paying to see, what am I talking about? I don't even pay for porn. I want to see the girl's ass. I want to see her tits, I want to see her shoulders, I want to see the femininity. I don't want to see these fucking weird angles, or angles that don't turn me on.
Well,
put that in the porn suggestion box. You should have a suggestion box right now and be writing all my little suggestions down and putting them in the porn box.
You can email me. And
I'll email you all the suggestions.
You can
listen, as much as I hate these things, I don't care about porn. I really don't. And it's like, I'd rather have a real relationship with a person versus watch a video. So these are just things I came up with for the questions, but whether they take them or not, it's que sera, sera. Okay. So angles. Oh, so many things about the angles. Another thing I was thinking about the angles was, what was it? The angle adjustment, angle switch. Oh, I had a question about that one. What are male porn stars like?
It just depends. They run the gamut.
Are they horny and they're homeless guys? They scoop them off the street? Are they Wall Street guys who got bored with their job?
It depends. I know an MIT engineer who's a porn star.
So it's a horny guy.
Yeah, he's a horny guy, but he's a good businessman. I know a guy who's, there's a lot of like Rohimi, fitnessy kind of guys. Mm-hmm. There's some of them are just performers, actors, thespians.
I got a question that relates to relationships. Now, there's a certain way to fuck a girl where you're taking charge of the girl. And you're like, look, this is how it's going to be done. And that's the way to turn on the girl the most. That gets the girl the wettest. Then there's I've seen porn guys who I know, if they weren't in porn, their relationships would not survive, because they're the type of guys who are always asking the questions like, oh, they're kind of projecting, their questions are really a projection of what their fantasies, like do you like fucking all the time? Are you at home fucking yourself with your dildo all the time? They're kind of like fantasizing what they'd like, and they hope the girl will say it and confirm it. Mm-hmm. So there's that guy, and then there's the guys who, well, it's kind of in the same vein where they're like, oh, how do you want it? What do you want to do? It's your cock. What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about those types of guys? Do you get turned on? Like, do you see a guy who's like, you would think, oh, this would be an awesome fuck, and then the guy talks to you or interacts with you, and you're like turned off? Does that happen? Or?
I think I objectify men quite a bit, especially on a porn set, because it depends.
So it's like job to you.
What I'm interested in my personal life is not necessarily what I'm interested in on a porn set. There can be overlap. There can be. Personally, I prefer the performers that I can connect more with. Like, a lot of that's an energy. I like men who are kind of, this is just my preference. I like men who are kind of masculine. I'm kind of tall and I'm kind of larger, and I like men who are a lot larger than me. But so much of it is energy. I mean, I worked with a guy the other day who was 4 inches shorter than me, but he was just a very masculine guy. Like,
listen, really, most women like masculine guys, whether they admit it or not. And the ones that don't are very broken.
Right, of course. I mean, it's like biology. So, but my point is that it wasn't about the size. His energy was very, like, powerful, and it was very clean, and so he was really wonderful to engage with. It was really good to connect with him. Yeah. I think the people, like, you're talking about smoking weed, I think people who use drugs are some of the hardest to connect with, because even if it's porn, and as you call it, unnatural, so let's say it's an unnatural environment, okay? And let's just say,
listen, how can you? It's ironic that you could tell me that we've created an unnatural environment, with the technology and whatnot, and then still try to say that porn is a natural phenomenon, as if like we've always had porn and guys viewing. I mean, we didn't have computers so far back and cameras.
People had sex clubs and stuff, but yes, you're right. Okay.
Oh, you had orgies and whatnot or things, but even come on, I mean, most people.
All right, I can
want to get into a relationship, not fuck. Okay. I mean, I like an orgy in theory, but I've had, 2 girls in bed, and it was nice, and it was great, a nice fantasy, but I realized, like, to be intimate with somebody, to get to that high level of intimacy where you're actually enjoying. I mean, the funny thing is, like, as a guy, one of the fantasies is, like, multiple girls. So, it's cool to have a girl licking your balls and sucking your cock at the same time. I've had that. But it's like a novelty thing, and you don't realize it until you've actually had sex, and then you realize when you have an emotional attachment to somebody, when all your energy is going into that person, like, the sex is so much better, like, on emotional. You don't realize how good sex can be unless you get that emotional component and experience it, because it's really physical for guys until they actually have that connection and they realize, whoa, it's a totally different level. So to go to 2 girls or go to multiple girls is actually going backwards, and I never realized that until I had an emotional connection having sex. And then you have 2 girls, and it's like you can't really have an emotional connection. It's more just a physical sensation of 2 people doing things to you at the same time.
Right. Well, and so so a lot of us have in the porn industry. You'd be surprised how many of us actually have very loving personal relationships that work.
Oh, I don't even trust that at all. I've heard that, where they say, but I couldn't imagine, like, if I was in a relationship with you, there's no way in fucking hell I'd ever let you do porn. Like, honey, okay, I'm gonna go off and get some cum on my face and I'll be back in about 5 and cook dinner for me and then we'll kiss and what? No! A totally absurd, no way in hell.
Alright, well you can tell me about my life then.
I will tell you about your life. I'm an expert on your life because I know how needs work and I know how relationships work. I have experience.
Well, I have experience with my life, and I'm telling
I
you
understand.
You're not correct, but that's okay.
Listen, people will backwards rationalize even the craziest of behaviors. It's understandable.
I honestly, I can't put you in my head or in my life, so I understand that you don't understand this, but I'm telling you that it's possible.
Well, thankfully I'm a guy, and I know what I'm talking about, and you're a girl, and you don't, and that's why we get things done. That's why guys are in charge. That's why guys are meant to be in charge. We're brighter, we're smarter, we're more capable, and that's why we're in charge of the relationships ultimately, because that's what attracts women. That's what works. That's what's complementary. So the fact that we're even having this conversation is abnormal. I should be talking to guys about this, not you. Like, typically you'd be dismissed and told to go to the kitchen while the guys talk about politics or then smoking cigars or whatever they did culturally, but at least the concept is there, whereas they talk to other men who they can rationally speak about versus women would have too much of the emotional investment, so it's hard for them to see past that. Whereas guys can be emotionally invested, but at least they can be reasoned with at the same time. So, I mean, at least you're an engineer, so you have that going for you. You have at least somewhat of a rational brain, but it's still a female brain at the end of the day. All right.
You're right. My little lady brain doesn't.
Listen, that's why I'm here. I'm here for you.
Like, there's no point calling this an interview. You should have just pulled me on so you could just explain things.
I have. Listen, all these interviews end up being explain-a-thons because girls will spout the stupidest theories on planet Earth, and I have to correct them. That's my job. So I understand. Look, we got to call a lot of things nominally what people want them to be, but there's practically what they end up being. I mean, I'm never going to have a debate where a girl's going to be like, I beat you, Professor. Here, I'm smarter than you. It's just not going to happen. I have too much experience with real practical life for a girl to come along and give me a chick theory and think that's going to work. It's just absurd. And then there's the interviews.
And this has been fun. I got to go.
It's late. Rage quit in an interview? Wow. Okay.
I'm not quitting. It's late. You've kept
I understand. Listen, it's okay to rage quit. It's happened before. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Thank you for being a guest on. Listen, women cover their butt hurt better than men. I understand. You're offended. That's fine. Listen.
It's midnight here.
It's perfect. Listen, you don't need to give me excuses. It's okay. We've had rage quit before. At least you're not pouting and, running off in a huff. So, it's a little huff. It's a little pout. The lower lip comes out. It's a little pout.
Listen, how much longer longer do you want me on to listen to you tell me? Like,
I understand. You don't want to hear it. That's how women are. It's perfectly understandable. Listen, how do you think I feel? I have to talk to you, and I have to pretend that you're as smart as me, and we're having an intellectual conversation. So it works both ways. Like, you give a little, I give a little. It's understood. So if you want to rage quit, that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to apologize.
How many more questions do you have for me?
I don't know. I have a bunch, but if you're too butthurt, that's fine. We can end it. I told you before. I told you over the phone. We'd go as long as you want to go.
It's very late, and I'm
Listen, you don't have to give the audience excuses. You certainly don't have to give me an excuses. If you want to rage quit, that's perfectly fine. We had you for this time. We had you for this time. It's fine.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I'm not going to be mad at you tomorrow. So don't take it personally. We've had people rage quit before. It's okay.
I'm not rage
Listen,
quitting,
we are in the business of telling people the truth, and not everybody is on board about hearing it, especially women. We understand that. That's why our focus is on men, because men will change society and women will follow that. It's not going to be women that change society. So we understand that. That's why our focus is on men. We like to hear from you. We like to hear your point of view to get confirmation with some of the things we teach, but we're not here for you to teach men. It's absurd.
But look, you've had me on for an hour, so how much, do you want to...
Listen, if I wasn't offending you and I made you, listen, I was trying to get in your pants, this interview would go 3 hours and you would be fine with it. But because I'm interested in telling the truth to my audience right now, I'm not into charming mode, I'm not interested in charming you right now, you're going to hear things and you're going to be butthurt. That's totally normal. It's totally understandable.
But I'm telling you, it's actually been 2 hours since I've been on with you. This is
I understand, and that point I made about you having a good time and it going over your head like you would have a 3-hour good time, listen, if people aren't having a good time, they're going to make excuses to leave. If people are having a good time, they're going to make excuses to stay. You are doing the opposite, and you did it right at a point when you got offended. So to claim you're not butthurt is absurd. We already know you're butthurt. So it's okay. It's fine.
You have opinions about things. I don't necessarily agree with you. I'm not telling you that you're wrong.
You are telling me I'm wrong. We hear it. No. It's understandable. It's fine. Look, I'm not here to get somebody to agree with me. I'm here to have the conversation so people can be educated and understand why women are a certain way. And what happens when we have like bitch behavior like yours, or we have women who are, I mean, look at your email. What did your email say to me when we first tried to arrange the interview? It was, we can have this interview, but stay away from name calling. I mean, it's absurd that you're already lecturing me as if I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, so the fact that I'm even having this interview, I mean, if I was having a relationship, there's no way I'd let you tell me what I could say to you as if you're going to monitor me. You're my mommy. But I realize we're in an abnormal society. We're in an abnormal situation. I could at least make the best of the situation and get your view to see if some things you will understand, some things maybe you won't. It's fine. But okay. I'm going to put up with it. I got to tolerate you just like you got to tolerate me. But at the end of the day, relationship dynamics and biology is not going to change. So, again, you're going to get butthurt. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. You got to accept some things.
Well, I'm very butthurt then, and I'm just going to go to bed now. So, thanks so much for having me.
Perfectly fine. Thank you, Mercedes, for joining us on this wonderful interview experience that we had. See you next time.